The Lord bless you. Dear family, I'm sorry I couldn't get a message out to you yesterday, but the Lord was working with us on things that we needed to look at and change. Truly, He wants us to love our enemies from the heart. Sometimes I lose track of that. That also includes those who favor a communist government. He wants us to pray for them. And I confess, I haven't been praying as I should for my enemies. We also have those locally that wish we'd just go away. Some because of gossip, others because they're working for the dark side. But that doesn't matter. The Lord loves them dearly. And with all His heart, He wants to see them saved and added to the kingdom. So Ezekiel was suffering very, very much yesterday, and the Lord really got our attention, both as a community and each separately. He wants all of us intercessors to stay on the mountain and not go fishing around in the swamp. And I have a bad habit of wanting to know. But this wanting to know is not so bad. It's the subject that matters. And the old Arkansas saying goes, if you play around with the turd long enough, you get that stuff on your hands. And I'm caught in somewhat of a dilemma, or you could say a compromised position, because I want you to understand the truth that is below the narrative that is being spread to those who do not understand what's happening in our country. Good people can be convinced of very bad things if they don't check out other sources at all. And that's what happened to 20% of America. They're convinced that President Trump is a bad man, not a hero. And in order to get the facts, I have to spend time in the swamp, but He wants us on the mountaintop. So these things must be handled with the utmost discretion. Since this is an ongoing drama, the temptation to continue to check the latest news is huge. So please pray for me that I'll stay away from the snake-infested waters. Besides, I don't like being in the snake-infested waters. I like being in the presence of the Lord. Well, my dear ones, we are in a time where the clay and the iron feet spoken of in the book of Daniel are coming into being. In the second book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar has a terrifying dream. He threatens to kill all his soothsayers and magicians if they cannot tell him the dream and interpret it. Of course, none of them could tell him, but a Jewish captive named Daniel was remembered by the king's cupbearer for being able to interpret dreams when they were in jail together. So it begins at Daniel, the second chapter, verse 31. You saw, O king, and behold, a great image. This image, mighty and of exceeding brightness, stood before you, and its appearance was frightening. The head of this image was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its middle and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. As you looked, a stone was cut out by no human hand, and it struck the image on its feet of iron and clay and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, and the bronze, the silver, and the gold all together were broken in pieces and became like the chaff of summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away so that not a trace of them could be found. But the stone that struck the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This was the dream. Now we will tell the king its interpretation. You, O king, the King of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the power, and the might, and the glory, and into whose hand He has given, wherever they dwell, the children of man, the beasts of the field, the birds of the heavens, making you rule over them all. You are the head of gold. Another kingdom inferior to you shall arise after you, and yet a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. And there shall be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, because iron breaks to pieces and shatters all things. And like iron that crushes it, it shall break and crush all these. And as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, it shall be a divided kingdom. But some of the firmness of iron shall be in it, just as you saw iron mixed with the soft clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly iron and partly clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle. As you saw the iron mixed with soft clay, so they will mix with one another in marriage, but they will not hold together, just as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break to pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever. Just as you saw that stone was cut from a mountain by no human hand, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great God has made known to the king what shall be after this. The dream is certain, and its interpretation is sure. And that's the end of that Bible scripture. How interesting this statue is, as it reveals the layers of civilization from the time of the Babylonian exile until the Messiah comes. Question is, where are we now? I believe that we've arrived at the feet. The iron from the legs is reminiscent of the Iron Curtain, communism, and the industrial totalitarian government arising, which has now subverted American values and even been infiltrating the church and the Constitution as it tries to take over America. The clay represents God's people. The Lord is our potter. And just like